Good morning, and I'm hoping that all of your videos worked better than mine. If not, I apologize. Mine was a little clunky. Thank you for joining us today. I am Megan Diver, and for those that don't know, I'm part of the Chamber's 4-person advocacy team, and I typically focus on areas related to education, workforce development, and community partnerships. And also from the Chamber, behind the scenes, is Angie Arno, our Director of Programs and Events. She's organized today's webinar and coordinated with the presenter. Before I introduce the webinar and the presenter, I just wanted to bring up a quick housekeeping reminder. Everyone will be muted, and if time permits at the end, we will open it up for discussion. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to post it in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Today's webinar is a part of a series that the Chamber's been working on throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. In today's webinar, we will discuss how messages and marketing need to change in order to successfully connect with target audiences. We will look at the brain chemistry influences decision-making in simple but effective ways to communicate. We welcome and thank our presenter, Paula Mahoney, President and Chief Strategist at Words at Work. Paula has built a reputation for creating interesting and simple concepts that deliver incredible results. Paula specializes in envisioning new approaches and unique solutions. In her corporate life, her strength was her ability to build collaborative teams. As a business owner, she translates that strength into teams with one clear goal: client success. She established Words at Work in 1993. Since then, Paula has provided concept and copy direction for clients large and small, including QVC, CollectiblesToday.com, WebMD, United Insurance, Unum, and the towns of Falmouth and Cumberland, Maine. Sometimes ideas take unique form. Paula, thank you for joining us, and I will now hand it over to you.
Thank you, and Megan and Angie. Let me just share my screen and get us started.
While Paula's getting set up, I'm going to hop in really quick just to note that there is a severe thunderstorm rolling through the region where Paula is. If we get interrupted and lose Paula and we're unable to get her back, we will ourselves continue the webinar recorded and share that recording with you. So, excuse us if that does happen. It's beyond our control, but we'll make a workaround for it.
Okay, so hopefully now you're all seeing the presentation screen. And I just want to thank everyone who is joining us this morning. Gosh, 2020 has certainly been an interesting year so far. Interesting is one way to define it. I wonder if all of you or any of you had what's happened this year in your annual strategy or marketing plan. Here we are in the middle of July. 2020 is more than half over. I've been talking with a lot of our clients about how their marketing plan has been going, and there's a fair number of them who are wanting to just chuck it right out the window.
Paula?
Yeah?
We see your notes screen too. Can you change it?
Oh, let's see. Which screen? Let's see. So stop share. This was so easy the last time I did it. I apologize. There we go. That's the one I want.
Yes, that's perfect.
Is that better?
Thank you. Thanks, Paula. Sorry.
Wonderful. No, thank you. So I'd love you to tell us in the chat, and we can talk about it later, if you have thrown your 2020 marketing plan out the window, or if you found a way to regroup and get back on track. I'd love to have a clearer understanding, and we can talk about it afterwards, about how your year is going so far. It's very unique, and there's no one result that encompasses every business so far. There's no denying that many businesses are struggling. The hospitality industry is one that is particularly hit hard here in Maine. But there are others that have been able to pivot That has become the word of 2020. There are plenty who have found the means to expand. And what we've been helping clients do is recognize new opportunities because there are new needs emerging in this strange environment. That's some of what we're going to talk about today, is how to recognize and develop the marketing plan for those new needs. But first, we've got a little housekeeping to take care of. I'd love it if you could all take just a plain old piece of paper, maybe you've got it in your printer, and I'd love you to just draw 2 lines on it to divide it into 4 quadrants. And once you've done that, you can label them. One quadrant would be great ideas I'll do right away. Another quadrant could be ideas I'll put on the list for this quarter. The third box could be ideas I'll consider before the end of this year. Oh, my mouse is very sketchy today. And the last box would be Paula's crazy ideas that I'll reconsider before I dump them. Oftentimes, that 4th box of crazy ideas is where the magic happens. So just take a minute and set up a place to take notes like that. So many of you will remember March. In the first few weeks of March, we talked about this mysterious virus that was wreaking havoc in other parts of the world and the country. Then it hit us here in Maine. And for weeks, there was an endless barrage of information that created anxiety and fear all across the country. Schools closed for vacation and then they didn't reopen. Restaurants closed, businesses closed, layoffs started happening, and then the closings were extended. I shut down our office on Portland Street in downtown Portland on March 17th. And before I left the office, I wrote myself a note on the whiteboard. March 17th, first day of the new world. I have to admit, I felt like Tom Hanks in Castaway. I was definitely looking for my Wilson, and it felt very uncertain. I really didn't know what the future was going to hold for us. In the 118 days since March 17th, the average person has seen approximately 10,000 messages every day. And that's messages everything. That's hearing radio ads, seeing TV ads, seeing pop-up boxes on your browser when you're crawling through the news. It doesn't, though, include the things that we've all gone out and sought ourselves. Information about COVID-19, information about what is happening in the world around us. Everyone's trying to learn new things every day, and there's a barrage of information hitting us all the time. Add to that the way that households are juggling technology needs. Add to that homeschooling, social unrest, the political scene, the ups and downs of the phased opening of our economy here in Maine and the economies of the states all around us. It's clear when we add that all up that we're all dealing with an emotional load that we've not experienced before. You may have seen it yourself firsthand. I know I've seen a little more road rage. I've seen neighbors have a little less patience with each other. I've seen quicker reactions among friends and family. You yourself might be scratching your head and asking, why is everyone so emotional? There's a real good reason why. We've been absorbing all this new information, and while we've been learning how to adapt and how to teach our children while running our businesses, all from the same kitchen counter with a single iPad or tablet, our brains have been flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. Advertising, programming, planning of the news, and even the positioning of news stories is done in a way to generate reaction. So for instance, cartoons want to make you laugh. Obituaries want you to feel empathy and compassion. We're all driving toward an emotional response. But what happens when emotional responses trigger action? So for instance, Domino's, sorry about that. There's always something in technology. Domino's wants you to order pizza in the middle of your favorite TV show. Facebook ads want you to click. You know the marketing game, and you're usually quite tuned into it. Under normal conditions, your brain is able to sift through a myriad of messages to find the one or two most relevant for you. Your brain is able, under normal conditions, to ignore the messages that aren't relevant. Under normal conditions, you're able to think through how you want to respond or react to media or marketing messages, or to what your kids say to you. Under normal conditions, your brain can easily choose the next best step to take. So what happens under conditions that we're under right now when these messages just barrage your brain? There's very little normalcy right now. We're all using the phrase the new normal, but it isn't defined yet, and it doesn't stay the same for more than a day at a time, at least not in my world. Remember all that adrenaline that was pumping through you back in March to help you manage your life? That's what's working against us all right now. It blocks our higher thinking, and it keeps us stuck in a very primitive decision-making place. So this is the science part. The brain is very complicated, and I'm not going to claim to be an expert or a neuroscientist, but I do know this. Different parts of the brain have specialized functions, and chemicals that are released by our bodies act to trigger different areas of our brain. The most basic area of our brain is called the lizard brain, and he's our reptile little friend. And its specialty is fight or flight. There's little or no rational thinking that takes place there. We've all felt that great rush of adrenaline when doing something exhilarating or watching a scary movie. At that point, the chemical prepares us to take action. Alternatively, the flight response prepares us for running away, where the fight response makes us put up our dukes and be ready to deal with the stress head on. That's our little friend, the reptile brain. But before you get all wigged out about the reptile brain, we have to give this guy some credit, because this is the impulse action that makes you run away from danger. And as I hear the thunder all around my house, I can feel my reptile brain activated. This little green guy can save your life, quite literally. He simplifies every event into either fight or flight. Very simple decision making, right? Yes, it's easy to make those choices, but our friend has a few challenges. He has tiny little ears that don't always hear well, and his eyesight isn't that great either. The lizard brain is really challenged when we try to introduce a third option, like listen to this, or think about this, or consider this idea. Because the reptile brain is focused on survival and brings forward our most deepest fears, it's hard for us to make rational decisions when the reptile brain is in charge. Like my mouse is really running the show today as opposed to me. So complicated information is too much for the reptile brain to take in. And listening is tough. All the talking sounds like the adults in the Charlie Brown shows. Remember that? Wah, 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 wah. Have you heard the expression, you can catch more flies with honey? Or how about you get more agreement with a carrot than with a stick? Not so with the reptile brain. the reptile brain works hard at getting as far away from pain as possible. Pain relief is more vital than pleasure, and that's important to remember. Quick reactive action feels normal for the reptile brain, and it feels like the right thing to do. So how does this play into marketing messages? And now my screens are playing all sorts of games, so I'm very sorry about that. When the reptile brain is running the show, too much information shuts him down. Too much information can trigger a negative reaction. In the reader's head, it sounds like, I'm not going to read that. I don't need to read that. That doesn't relate to me, and I don't need to follow those rules. Those were clearly written for someone else who has more time. So when we saw this, this explanation for how to enter at the visitor center at Moosehead, at first we thought, wow, there's great information here. But then we realized there's so much going on and so many things to trigger our attention that it was hard to focus on what it was we were supposed to do. And all the emojis kind of grabbed our eyes, and we flitted around almost like a hummingbird looking for the right piece of information to land on. So it's very hard for us to make sense out of all of that great information that we know was issued to be helpful, but kind of missed the point in formatting. The other message, no mask, no brains, no service, we're assuming when we saw that it was meant to be funny, but I think the humor got lost. The red lettering of no brains, that is also an immediate trigger for our little reptile brain. Red lettering tells us something. Think about it. When do you see red? You see red on a stop sign. You see red on an exit. That's a fire exit. Red to us means danger, stop, react. Red is not a great message to give our little reptilian friend. So the same thing happened when we saw this next announcement. Again, we were very excited because it came from one of our favorite places to go in the summertime. And we were all excited that, wow, they're opening. And I've blacked out their name to protect the innocent here. Again, a lot of information in a big block of text, and so much information that I passed right over that whole big paragraph and I went right to the bullets. That's what happens with eye tracking, is you go for something that stands out and tells your brain, it's important, read this. Numbers do that, bullets do that. Emojis and color can do that. So immediately I went right to bullet number 1, which I thought would be the most important thing. And it's about being happy, which is great. But 1 and 2 didn't really tell me anything about what I needed to do when I got there. So I was hoping to find out how I could visit them again. And I didn't find that when I really dug into it. My reptile brain had glossed over the top section long ago. So we took that post and we built it afresh to give an example of how to present the information that you need to send out to customers or to prospects or even to employees in a way that would help your reader digest the information. It would help to cool down that overly sensitive, highly reactive reptile brain. So we started with a little exciting paragraph, but we kept it super short. And we used a little bold to get the important information out. We're open. We can dine in or out. And then we started with some numbers. The bullet points work very effectively to give people information that's really important right now. And then we used an asterisk and a note that we wanted people to recognize that our protocol for opening might change. So please come back and check in with us before you come. And then we wanted to help them maintain their personality. So we kept the colorful hearts, and we still wished Bill a happy birthday. And we wanted everyone to know that they still have live music every evening, because that's part of their personality and their claim to fame all summer. Much easier to read. When the reptile brain is in charge, images help to tell the story. So we were also really happy to see this post from our neighbor in Portland, Isa Bistro. Isa is a very small bistro kind of restaurant, mostly inside, but some outside patio dining in the summertime. Well, they retooled. So this is one of the companies that found a new way when they couldn't do curbside and they couldn't have dine-in. They created Car Hop. And our reptile brain loved this because these images really told us a story. One story is that I can tell that everything will be delivered to my car in a safe and sanitary way. The cutlery is wrapped in plastic. The server is masked. The dishes are disposable. But I can see from the picture of the pasta that it's still the legendary Isa delicious food. And I can tell from the server who's coming toward me that it's going to come right to my car in a very fun and wonderful way. It's going to be a really pleasant experience and very novel, sitting in my car like an old-fashioned 1950s car hop that I've seen in movies and heard about from my parents and other relatives. So it's very exciting, and I just loved these images as great examples. Then I received an email from the Downeaster, the train that goes from Brunswick to Boston. I knew that there would be lots of really important information, and the reptile brain has a hard time digesting too much information, as I've explained. So again, I was really happy to see that the Downeaster incorporated some of our best practices for formatting and prioritizing information. They kept in mind the importance of eye tracking. So right from the beginning, my eye can go through this email and see, with using the bullet points and a little bit of boldface type, what exactly are the important keys. I can see that there's service restoration. I can see what trains will be operating. And I can see, I'm a little disappointed that cafe service will not be available in phase 1, but I understand. So there's great information. The bullets really tell me what's the most important for me to focus on. And then it was very exciting at the bottom of the email for me to see the frosting on the cake in my mind. These images show me what to expect when I board the train and when I come into the train station. I think these photos really explain in ways that an email can't, what to expect when I board, how the conductor will interact with me, and what is expected of me. It's expected that I will wear a mask, that I will use my mobile device in order to have paperless ticketing, and the conductor will maintain as much distance as possible. And then I love this image also, the picture of the marker on the floor. Look down. I think it's important for us all to be helping everyone understand where we're going to find direction. Too often in the grocery store or At retail stores, we're looking around, looking for the signage. Can I walk in? Do I have to wait until someone allows me in? These markers on the floor in the train station tell me exactly what I should do. So I was thrilled with the Downeaster's email when I got it. If I was going to change one thing, I would have started the email with the marker on the floor and put a note in, look for this when you arrive, and please wait your turn until it's your turn to move ahead. But, you know, that's me being a nitpicker. There's always, in my mind, ways to improve communication. So here we are. It's a whole new world. We are here in July, and we have to plan for the rest of the year how to figure out how to finish 2020 strong and set up for 2021. But the reptile brain is still running the show. Maine is slowly opening to outsiders. We're supposed to wear masks, and we're supposed to remain 6 feet apart. And now we have to figure out how to send the kids back to school. So the adrenaline is still flowing for many of us, and there's no sign of that cooling down. How do we succeed in that world? We have to help the reptile brain by offering simple messages in uncomplicated ways. Many of us are trying to figure out how to engage with a local audience that we haven't engaged with before. We need to encourage them to do business with us, even if they've never done that before. And we have to welcome back our current customers and assure them that even though we might look different and we may have changed the way we can do business with them somewhat, we have to assure them that we still are the great business that they remember, and we will still provide the product and services that they've come to rely on us for. We have to remind everyone that we're still the same business that we were 118 days ago. So I'd love to know what's happening in your realm and what you've been experiencing. And I'd love to hear your reactions to situations that you've experienced in your business where now you might understand, that could be an example of the reptile brain. And with that, I'm going to end my share and I'm going to open it up for questions. And I'm going to welcome back Megan and Angie. And Megan may have gotten knocked off by the storm.
No, we're here.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody has any, now would be the time.
I have made it so that participants can unmute themselves now at this point if they have a question or comment that they wanted to share with Paula. Paula, there was one little comment in the chat from someone who worked at Downeaster who said thank you. They were excited to use them as an example.
I did get their permission to show that.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and interact with Paula directly. This is a great opportunity for you to do so.
I'm sorry the slideshow kind of went ahead. My mouse, it must be the humidity. Let's see, for businesses that see an uptick in support, what are some ways they can transition their messages for a new client base without info overload? That see an uptick in support. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that.
Anne, do you want to unmute Anne and chit chat?
Sure. So I actually service and support a lot of people in agriculture and natural resources, and it's really brought in a new clientele base who are looking to buy local, or they feel there's a lot of confidence in that. So I think it's a great opportunity, but these are entrepreneurs who don't always have a lot of messaging that is immediate and easy to do, right? They're like everyone, they're really busy with their 24 hours. So how do they really connect in a way that gets beyond the lizard brain for this moment in time, but gets to the lizard brain for the normal moment in time, so that they can really transition into not just a prospect, but a longer term client or customer?
So in other words, how can we make sure that our new customers become that they become repeat customers and loyal fans?
Yes.
Hopefully, and so I'm putting myself, I'm picturing the local farm stands that I'm visiting that I've never visited before. I've liked them on Facebook, and I've looked for opportunities to get on their mailing list, you know, when I'm at the stand. Granted, they're up to their elbows in strawberries and blueberries and corn season coming on right now. But if they could find 5 minutes to even put an old-fashioned clipboard and some notepad paper somewhere near their entry or exit so that people could sign up to keep in touch, then maybe in the off season when things do calm down a little bit, they could this winter build an email list or work on their Facebook list a little bit. One of the stands that I've been visiting is Jordan Farms in Cape Elizabeth. It's a haul for me. It's about 30 minutes, but they put out a plea for people to come help them buy up their strawberries, because I guess they ordinarily ship a lot to restaurants and therefore they had a surplus. And I've been sharing their posts and that sort of thing. So if there's someone running their social media, just scheduling some posts that would say, oh my gosh, we're about to get clobbered, that would say, please share this with your friends or that sort of thing. If they have a little bit additional time, doing some paid advertising on Facebook would be a very inexpensive but effective means for getting beyond their regular circle. There's another question. I hope, Anne, did that help at all?
Yes, that's perfect. It's always good to have that kind of support, and I love the anecdote too. Thank you.
So Megan has a question. Given the 10,000 messages, I know, overwhelming, and the fact that people seek their own info, do you see email or social media as the best channel to reach the targeted public? So yes and no. We're being flooded, but I can say that I look for the posts of the organizations that I'm trying to support, and I think I'm kind of mainstream in that way. I'm not mainstream in that I still haven't had a lot of time off because we've been busy. So some of my friends have been much more active on social media and much more active on information gathering. I do think social media and email marketing is a super effective means to get to your audience, but you have to help the lizard brain. You have to keep it simple. Another tool that is very successful is digital marketing. And there's all sorts, I call it the creepy cool marketing techniques, where you can target your demographic. You can do things like take your customer email list and you can load it up to Facebook, and Facebook can build you a mirror client group, a mirror audience, so to speak, to send your message to, and it will find Facebook members who are like your demographic rather than directly to your target. So that's a very effective tool for using social media to build a bigger audience, and it's very cost effective. There's another question. I sell jewelry and home decor. We send out newsletters more often in the fall. However, we have some new information and products to share. Do you recommend increasing the number of times we send out newsletters to our customers? Well, I think this is a unique time right now. If you have a way to help people redesign their space, I think now would be a time to step up your email frequency. But again, I would keep it super simple. I'm on Wayfair's mailing list. I'm on Bob's Discount Furniture and Jordan's Furniture. And they have not let up. And even Staples is stepping into the home decor environment. But they are doing it in ways similar to those photos from Isa Bistro. They're showing me what I might do with my living room or my home office or my sun porch or my patio. They're giving me concrete and very simple ideas that I could easily click and fulfill. My pet peeve with those folks, especially with Wayfair, is I feel like their social media and their email is a little bit of clickbait. I'll see something that I like in their email or their social media, like I like that particular rug. I click on it and then I cannot find it. So if you put something in your social media, Sharon, I would suggest that you make sure that when someone clicks on it, they can find it or they can find you very quickly. And that will set you apart from the mass merchandisers. Hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else? These are great questions. I'd love to hear if anybody has used any kind of digital marketing in this time to target new audiences. Can you hear the thunder in the background here? It's just like night.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I'm glad we still have you on for a few more minutes here. Anybody, you do have the ability to unmute yourself. Just a reminder, if it's easier, just to say hi and share a thought. And if we don't have any, I think we could probably wrap it up.
Let me ask this question to the group.
Go ahead.
What is your biggest challenge or fear for the second half of the year? I'd love to get at that. That people will get tired of virtual, you know, and no one will look ahead and no long-term strategic plan. Deeper increase in disposable income. Yep, those are all big fears. So I'm talking to a lot of people about how to make virtual a continued way to be successful. And we have to find ways to elevate this environment. I think this environment of me feeding information to you has worked for the last 3 months because it's been kind of the only tool in our toolbox. But I think moving into the second half of the year, we're going to see that that's not as engaging any longer. And we have to find ways to make it more engaging. And I think we'll start to see some of those things. We're working with clients on how to make the virtual presentation more interesting and more fluid in terms of feedback and give and take. Clients' funds dry up, so they won't engage businesses in more work. Yeah, you know, I want to urge people to fight that fear. I think that I'm gonna put my stake in the ground saying that I think people will have the money, but I think people will be more reluctant, more and more fearful about spending the funds that they have. there is plenty. I've been talking to some bankers, and if there's a banker on here, I'd love to get feedback to this. Bankers have been inundated with people looking for places to deposit their PPP loans and their EIDL, their economic impact disaster loans. And banks are sitting, and credit unions are sitting on huge depositories right now. So that money is going to be there to spend. It's just going to be important to show that you are the reputable and dependable and the quality business to spend it with. So we have to kind of go back in our thinking to 2008 when there was money in the marketplace, but people were very hard pressed to choose how to spend it. So I want you to be thinking about that. Should we also consider postcard mailings? Well, we backed off from any kind of print mailings in the last 3 months because there was so much controversy about whether or not the virus could be spread by contact. So I would still kind of hang back on postcard mailings. Doesn't mean don't do them, but don't put all your eggs in that basket. People are online constantly, and that makes digital a much more viable means for promoting your business. I think digital is still the way to go. Social media, email marketing, and digital advertising that you can buy through Google or any one of a million different digital providers. And if you haven't been able to figure that out, send me a quick email, paula@wordsatwork.us, and I'll explain quickly some of the resources that you can talk to for some digital marketing. It doesn't take a big budget, and it can be super effective. There goes my reptile brain. That was a close strike.
Wow, Megan, I think we should probably wrap up and let Paula get off of her computer.
Oh, sorry.
You hear that?
All right. Well, if anybody has any questions, I think that we'll share the video recording, and we can certainly share Paula's email. Angie or Paula, do you have anything else?
No, thank you everyone for coming today, and I hope you missed these storms.
Thank you everyone. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully everyone remembers to vote today as well.
All right. Thanks, ladies. Have a great day.
You too.